Hello and welcome to Adventures in Venueland, an EAMC podcast. This is your all-access pass to go backstage and behind the scenes with some of the brightest minds that cross the scope of the live entertainment industry. I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. We'll introduce you to some of our favorite people as we dive deep into the world of live touring shows and the venues that host them.
Heading to Wisconsin for today's adventure, and joining us is Dustin Godsey. He's the Chief Marketing Officer at Milwaukee Bucks Inc. and Fiserv Forum. Dustin, how you doing?
Doing great, Dave. Paul, good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah.
Tell me what this last year has been like. I mean, everybody we talk to, what has the past year been like? But you have had a past, 18 months like no other.
It has been, I think, it's almost feels like we're aging in dog years a little bit over this last 18 months. Obviously, everybody has their stories and challenges and, dating back to March of 2020. But, to go through, not only on the arena side, but then the team side, to be in the bubble and that whole experience and then to, come out of that, come right back into a new NBA season to host a Christmas Day game for the first time in 40 years, but to do it as one of the 50 people that were in the stands watching it was sort of surreal. And then, just going through ramping back into welcoming people into the building and culminating in 100,000 people outside of our arena and another 18,000 inside for our World Championship. It's been a whirlwind for sure.
Definitely all the highs and all the lows. Like, I think a lot of people got a little more of the lows, but at least you all have a ring to cap it all off with and kind of wash the rest of it down. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think we kind of talk about, now if we ever get to do this again in a normal year, hopefully, this year's a little bit more normal. We'll definitely know how to do it because we learned how to do it in basically the most trying circumstances you could go through.
So what were things like at Fiserv, over the past, year and, kind of the challenges that you guys had, going from, really zero to not 0 to 60, but like 0 to 1,000?
Yeah. I mean, that was, really the big challenge is how you ramp up. And I think the whole thing has been interesting for us over the last 18 months because we were really only open for 18 months. So we were still in the middle of kind of our honeymoon of that first couple years of shows coming through. And, we'd had an incredible first season, outside of the Bucks going to Eastern Conference Finals, but just the number of concerts we booked, it's hard to believe it was coming on 3 years already. We had an opening week of a Bucks home opener, Metallica, Foo Fighters, the Eagles, 21 Pilots. And to go from that sort of high to, nothing and canceling 15, 20 shows in a fell swoop. And then, like I said, kind of coming back, we had, from a Bucks side and on the building side, we spent a lot of time, working on kind of our mobile ordering, our fan experience, like taking some of our digital roadmap, down the road and accelerating that. So we were able to use that. And then as we came back with Bucks, one of the nice things is we actually had an opportunity as we staggered in. We started with 500 fans for a few games. We got up to 25% or 1,800 people, and then kind of into 3,000. It was one of the benefits of it was we were able to kind of stress test some things and some processes and go through. So that was one of the positives that came out of it from that standpoint. But I think the big challenges is, as everyone has had, as things started to come back online and we start getting people in is how you ramp up quickly, how you staff. Staffing issues have certainly been a challenge here as they've been, throughout the country as you go through. And I think, timing and working with the city was probably the most interesting piece of all that in as we got into playoffs and started getting our security plans in place, getting our plans in place for staffing, for ticketing. We quickly went from, being told we wouldn't have more than 25% capacity probably through the entirety of the playoffs to the day after we sent out season ticket information and told people new locations and limited number of games, getting word that we were going to get bumped to 50%. And then a couple days after getting bumped to 50%, being told what date we're going to go to 100%. So it was a very accelerated ramp up, and, kind of, rolling plans and things that we didn't have in place, which was sort of the exciting part. And then, deciding to reopen Deer District and have all of our outdoor events, which became just a massive, beyond our wildest dreams in terms of what those crowds ended up looking like and what that turned out to be. We never could have imagined, as we were rolling into playoffs at the end of April, beginning of May, that would even happen, let alone, turn into what it did.
As much as every market's different, every state's different on, how they ramped things up and scaled things down. And you mentioned, working with the state, working with the city and all those officials. Was there some benefit of having some level of consistency on the NBA side that provided you with an advantage when you were looking at concerts and bringing back, other types of live events, because you sort of had that experience of working with the NBA and what, details they had across all their venues?
Yeah, for sure. I think, we had a number of people from our team, from game entertainment to, our GM, down working with the NBA even during the bubble, and just being able to see, the procedures they were putting in place, the protocols back of house, that sort of thing. So I think that certainly helped from that standpoint. It became interesting as we got to the playoffs, though, where, there was a lot of consistency across, kind of the league on what they were looking to do. And certainly around player safety and what you could do around the court remained very consistent. But even from a league standpoint, it became pretty clear that every market was going to be different. And, suddenly you have the Miami Heat going to 100% capacity, in Florida, and, a few other markets. So it really became kind of, from a general arena operations standpoint, there were definitely guidelines from the league, but I think we certainly were one of the early ones that got to 100% capacity, and that helped us in conversations with, WWE and some of the other promoters coming back quickly out of it, that, we had solid procedures in place. We had worked, again, with the NBA. We had their best practices, but also, we really helped kind of drive on our side, just working in partnership with the health department and everything here, where, we were doing walkthroughs, we were going through everything with them just to really make sure we were kind of lockstep with them as we went through. And, I think that certainly has helped us as we've gone into, what all things considered is actually a pretty busy fall outside of the Bucks. So that's been hugely helpful.
You talk about, the situation's changing on a moment's notice. And I find that the key to surviving 2021 has been fluidity, right? And there's so many people in this industry that, have a certain way they like to do things. And this is the way we've always done it. They're struggling right now because there are still, even as we record this podcast, there are unknowns of what this industry is going to be like in a month, or what regulations are going to be in place next week's shows. So how have you and your staff been able to deal with the fluidity of this industry right now?
Well, I think you hit on it exactly. And that's just being prepared for whatever the eventualities are going to be, and knowing that there is going to have to be that flexibility. And we've seen that, and we've lived through it. As soon as you get a plan in place, things are going to change and go through. I think, certain that's been sort of I think the learning from the last 18 months really is that kind of to be prepared for the unexpected, and where you used to have, kind of your operational plans and understanding of what things are, the real challenge now is everything changes so quickly that, it's just continuing to go through, and hopefully we've gotten to enough of the different eventualities, and we've been through enough of the different stages that perhaps now we have some of the plans to look back on and learn from and go through. But, again, even a month ago, we thought we were on our way out, right? And kind of thinking that we were getting close to, and we were certainly much closer to operating like normal. And then, with spikes now and testing and vaccination. And again, like you said, Dave, we have no idea what a month from now is going to look like. And I think going into it with that understanding is half the battle, and knowing that you have to be prepared for things to change. You have to be prepared for the unexpected as much as you can, and just be able to roll and go through it.
I think there's definitely an advantage that hopefully there's less naivety this time around. Whereas I think everyone, when we first went into this wave the first time, everyone's like, oh, we'll be back in the office in a week or two, or, and it's like no one really knew the scale of what was possible and how much it can affect. Whereas I think now
Paul.
everyone knows the ceiling. So it's kind of, at least, you hope we're not going to get anywhere close to that again, but at least they're just now like everyone kind of sees what could happen. So hopefully that gives some good perspective as we prepare for any other kind of bumps.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think I felt I was being aggressive when I set my teams meetings with staff and that sort of thing to expire in 2 months. At that point in time, I wanted to make sure I was covered for that whole thing. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that's the hope, right? Is that we know a lot more about what this is. We know how to mitigate things. And, I think we all, have that flexibility of, knowing that we can change things. So hopefully we're, out of the bulk cancellations and shut down. And now we're more to understanding how to live and operate with this. Certainly none of us want to go through that march again.
Dustin, you mentioned it, but for folks who didn't have the opportunity to tune in to the games, can you explain the Deer District?
Yes, absolutely. So when we built the arena, part of the entire design and really, I mean, it all comes back to where Fiserv Forum is in Milwaukee and sort of where it was built, what this entire neighborhood is. It was the location of Fiserv Forum. It's right in the middle of Milwaukee. We have 30 acres that we're developing that were once a freeway that cut right through the middle of Milwaukee, was torn down in I believe the late 80s or early 90s, and it had been sitting undeveloped. That was really a divider, a physical, kind of divider of our community. And, from sort of the more urban, north side of the city from the commercial areas downtown, and really was a challenge for our city of really kind of segregating and dividing people. So our hope in building where we did and what we were trying to do is create a connection and kind of a hub for the city and that sort of, gathering place in Milwaukee that could really kind of connect and bring people from all parts of the city together. So part of that was creating a public plaza right in front of the arena. I think one of the misconceptions is from people who did watch on TV, the thought that this was, the Deer District was just the fan group and sort of this temporary thing that got popped up, similar to Jurassic Park in Toronto. The Raptors kind of built that in Maple Leaf Plaza outside. But really, this was Deer District is the neighborhood. So this is the entire area that we're building and developing with an entertainment district. We have a hotel that will break ground this fall. A couple more blocks that we're still working on developing. So this is bigger than the 10 to 100,000 people that came down. But I think that's where people see this. And it was really, great for us to see that vision of that gathering place, of that place to bring people together from, all walks of life. It's one of the few areas where you can really see true diversity in a crowd in Milwaukee was bringing these groups together. And it was incredible to see, and just the energy that developed around that. And I think, for us, helped us showcase this city. I don't know, you guys remember going into the playoffs, ESPN on First Take had made a comment about no one wanting to come to Milwaukee for the finals, and a terrible city got thrown out, though they will say it was a little bit out of context. But I think we had an opportunity to really showcase what this city is and the way it could come together. And that was the hope when we built this building and this entire district around it.
Isn't it also like a little bit of one of your babies, like one of your projects too, and something that I can't imagine? It's easy to go into a team that's already sort of in the middle or successful and sort of ride that wave. But I remember when you joined the Bucks, you all were hyped about being kind of at the bottom and getting the top draft picks. And I remember this one promo you did, which I thought was genius, where you all were mailing out ping pong balls, right, with the Bucks logo on it. And I'm sure that feels like a century ago now, where, you were really sort of spinning that underdog thing. And I also remember you all got Giannis, and you were like posting on your personal social, like, oh, this guy is crazy. You guys will see, you'll see. And no one else knew how to pronounce his name. And now the guy is a household name. He's like one of the biggest stars in the league. And I mean, what is that like to really, on not only to be, witness it, but like on a professional level, to come in really at that level and see the growth all the way up?
It's incredible. And certainly, it's nice to have a plan come together when you really have no control over some of that, but a lot of it. But no, I mean, it was incredible. And I, shared something kind of during the Brooklyn series this year when we had 15,000 people out, on the plaza and just overlooking it and just, kind of made the comment that, literally when I got hired here, I did a trip to Costa Rica before I started, came back from Costa Rica to find out that then Commissioner Stern had, basically put an ultimatum on the table saying that, the Bucks had to have a plan for a new building in the next 2 years. So, by 2014, or the league wasn't going to let us renew our lease. And so, literally having people tell me in the community, people who I was meeting, telling them, hey, I just, took over marketing for the Bucks, telling me not to unpack my boxes because we weren't going to be here in 2 years. Right. So, to go from that to, it's funny that you mentioned the ping pong balls, Paul. Like, I mean, that was, that moment, that was the start to our Own the Future campaign, which was really the first time that we started giving people permission to dream a little bit and to, have expectations. Was right around when new ownership came in, and one of our new owners, literally got the entire staff together on day one after they closed the deal and got everybody together. Said, we're going to win a championship in Milwaukee. We're going to get a new arena built. If you don't think that is true and possible, then you can walk out now. No hard feelings, right? So it was. It feels good to be able to say that we've made good on that.
Yeah.
Dustin, you have a role there as the CMO. Would you tell me a little about what that role encompasses? And in that same note, obviously, you guys have been on the forefront of addressing some of these social issues from a team and an arena side, and kind of how your role played into, so many of those big things where you guys were an industry leader over the past year.
Yeah. So kind of on the first part of that, my role. So I oversee all of our marketing, digital content creation, live events, game ops, and then arena marketing, and
is that all?
So that's it. That's so that's what rolls up under marketing here. And I think, it's a little bit of a unique setup where, we do have the arena team fully integrated in with the team side. It's all kind of shared services going through. Before I came here, I was in Philadelphia at Comcast Spectacor, where, I oversaw the arena side of marketing. And then, for Global Spectrum, I was the Northeast regional director, and, worked very closely at the time. We owned both the Sixers and Flyers and worked very closely with those teams, but there was still always that little pull of, teams sort of coming first or where the asset allocation came through. And I think, one of the things we wanted to build as we came through here is how we make sure that we're all rolling the same direction, where, there's no fight from Gracie, who's our director of marketing on the arena side. If she needs promotion in a game, there's, she knows she gets it, right? And we can work together and do that, which I think has been really a great thing here as we do that and kind of, understand everybody on the team side knows the importance of the shows. Everybody on the show side understands the importance of the team and where we can work together and make sure we're, like I said, we're all rowing in the same direction. And I think as we got to, last summer and really even before that, I mean, it's sort of been ingrained again, as we rebranded the team. Not only did we set those expectations for the championship culture, but, it was about us being a true part of the community and not just, going to events and donating and going through, but how we actually help, lead the conversations about the challenges that our city, like a lot of cities, throughout the country face, and really being a part of those conversations. So, we had an issue with one of our players and a police brutality issue a couple years back. So that really kind of hit home on our side, on the policing side of things. And then obviously last summer, as we got into the George Floyd situation, it was an easy call for us. We were actually the first, possibly the only, I'm not actually sure, certainly on the NBA side, to, we led a march. We got the community together. We had our players, our owners, our staff with the community in the streets, in kind of the hiatus before the bubble started. And then, when Jacob Blake was murdered in August, obviously kind of right in our backyard, to see our team step up and really, kind of shut down the sports world again for a couple of days.
Right, absolutely.
In their decision to sit out one of our playoff games against Orlando, it was one of those things where it was a couple sides of it. Number one was, just the sense of pride of being a part of an organization where, certainly the players acted, they did what they're going to do, but, I think they were able to do that without fear of retribution and an understanding of, this is what our organization is and what we believe in, what the culture is, that they were able to do that. And immediately, the entire organization stood behind that decision. And, I think that was gratifying to see and just a real prideful moment to know that that's the kind of organization you're
Absolutely.
a part of. But then I think it also, from our standpoint, made us realize as progressive and, attached to these things as we thought we were, we still weren't even close to being where we needed to be, just from a diversity standpoint, an inclusion standpoint, and equity standpoint. So it helped us, coming from a place of trying to lead the charge and be progressive to, understanding how much more work there still was to do.
Well, the world has been watching Milwaukee and Fiserv, and you guys have done a great job leading the way. I know we're kind of tight on time here today, but before I let you go, I did want to ask you about, there's a sign for folks listening to the podcast. There's a sign behind you that says, "Let's make better mistakes tomorrow." And that's framed on your wall. Tell me what that means to you.
That is, that's one of, I've kind of a couple mantras, but that's one of the big ones. And I think that is, for me, as I manage people and my management style and just, everything, it's okay to make mistakes. We all, especially these last 18 months, but that's actually a piece of art that came with me from Philadelphia. So that's been with me, for over a decade now. And it is right behind me at my desk. So everybody that comes in, meets with me, goes through. That's just kind of the place I come from. I know we're always figuring things out, especially in this world, especially the last 18 months, but even before that, you're constantly changing, you're constantly having to adapt. And, it's okay to make mistakes as long as you're learning from it and make better mistakes the next day and eventually, work your way towards success. So that's just been a big part of my mentality for quite some time.
Love that.
Yeah, it's so good. Hey, Dustin, before we let you go, any plugs you want to give where people can find you and or the Arena team on social, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, Fiserv, at Fiserv Forum on Twitter, Instagram, at Bucks, in the same places. So, and love to build that following. Love the support, like I said, that we've gotten from the community over the last 3 years. It's been an interesting first 3 years to a building, and looking forward to great things to come.
I definitely have you on the short list of places we'd love to visit for EAMC, and look forward to being able to check out Milwaukee. Not a terrible city in person.
Incredible city, especially in June. So we'd love to have those conversations with you.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Hey, Dustin, thanks for making the time for us. And a big thanks to everybody for listening to Adventures in Venueland. Do remember that you can subscribe and find more episodes wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We love your 5-star reviews. It helps others find us. Until the next adventure, I'm Dave Rattleberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. Thanks for listening, everyone. Adventures in Venueland is a side project of the Event and Arena Marketing Conference, a nonprofit organization bringing together people in the field of live entertainment to discuss marketing, publicity, and sales trends. Find out more at eventarenamarketing.com.
Audio editing and mixing by Camille Faulkner.
Design and digital advertising by Megan Ebeck.
Copywriting and publicity by Samantha Marker.
Guest booking and brand strategies by Paul Hooper.
Guest research by Dave Rettelberger.
Marketing strategies by Paul Hooper, Megan Ebeck, and Samantha Marker. Thanks for joining us. Until the next adventure.